You know, I was sitting here reading the book of Second Corinthians, and it's just when I come across this, it's just I mean, it's got that wow factor. It's got the puts you in awe, and I'd have to say if it doesn't put you in awe when you think about this, when you read this portion and a lot of portions in Scripture that talk about the gospel, I'd have to say you just hadn't really got it yet. Um, I got to the point in chapter 6 of Second Corinthians, verses 11 through 13. It says, you see, the Apostle Paul, he had just been telling them, he was defending his ministry and telling them about the ministry of reconciliation that he and they had been given, and by extension, us as well. And he pours his heart out to them, and he tells them, he says, we've spoken freely to you, Corinthians. Our heart is wide open. He's literally, quite literally, poured his heart out to them. And he tells them, you're not restricted in your own affections. In return, widen your hearts also. Uh, why don't you widen your hearts? Why don't you open your heart? See, there was a time to where, you know, it was kind of nerve wracking to even walk in the door of a church for me. It was, and then I finally did, and then it was a little. I got nervous about singing, and you know, there'd be no way I'd stand up in front of somebody, you know, a whole congregation. But you know, that came and on and on and on, and I began to grow and things like that. But you know, there was some point to where I had to open up my heart because of this message that he's given right here. He's telling them be reconciled to God. He tells them that they've received the same ministry as well, and he's telling them, open your hearts up. For goodness sake, open your hearts up. What is restraining you? What's restricting you in your own affections? Why are you not wowed by this? Wowed by what? This one fact. Chapter 5, verse 21, it says, this is the central message. It says, for our sake, he made him sin to be sin. He made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. He do what? Wow. I mean, he just said that this is the central message. This is what reconciles us. This is what opens our heart. This is what makes us a new creature. He became sin who knew no sin. And of course, we know this speaking of Jesus, the Christ, the Son of God. I mean, he literally made me right. What I did that was wrong is justified. It's right. That is the righteousness of God. We've become the righteousness of God because what he did, he was condemned in our stead. Oh, wow. I mean, you know, could you imagine going to court over, say, murder or whatever it may be, you know, some kind of heinous crime, something that you knew you shouldn't be doing, some sort of rebellion that took place in your heart, you know, and it came out and you actually did it and it changed who you were. And I mean, you had all this punishment ahead in your life. Your life was gone, and somebody stepped up and said, "You know what? I'll take the punishment for him." Hmm. You see, when we're centralized around that that puts you in such awe. It puts me in such awe that that the person, not only did I do that, but the person that I did that to, the person that I rebelled against, the person that I was disobedient to, the person who just, I mean, he loved me with all their heart. You know, it was it's like raising up a child, and them just cursing you and spitting at you and saying, no, I don't want you. I don't want to follow your rules anymore. I'm out of here. I'm done with this. It hurts. It hurts to change a baby's diapers, and then in the end, when they get 18, 19 years old, for them to hate you, to rebel against everything you've ever taught them. Well, we did that. But he sent his son to take the punishment for us, and that punishment was death. That's the righteousness of God. That central message should reconcile us to him and us to each other. And that's what he was doing with the Corinthians. So there's one question I have, what's restricting our hearts? It's one question that he posed to the Corinthians. He said, well, you're not restricted now. You've been set free now, if indeed you actually had. So what's holding you back? What's holding you back from letting that change your whole world view? My guess is you actually don't believe. My guess is your faith's not faith at all. It's just wishful thinking, a false hope. You see, when somebody gives their life for you, it changes something. An affection is open that you never even knew that you had. Things change. Christ, when he did that, he even sent us his very own Spirit so that we could be connected with him and reconciled to him. He gave us a guarantee that we never be condemned again. And it gets better. It gets more awesome. But you got to get that central theme first. He became sin, who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Amazing.